recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Beyer.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and thank you for holding this hearing. Thank you for hanging in there. I'm so glad that we're holding a hearing on the unemployment system, which has long been neglected and underfunded by federal and state policymakers. I can tell you that, like many of the colleagues here, at the height of the pandemic, that's all we did was chase down unemployment insurance claims. I think, and every story was distressing. Everyone was grimly similar that the enhanced UI payments were literally the only thing that allowed ordinary Americans who lost their work through no fault of their own to pay their bills, to buy groceries, to support their families. We had myriad constituent cases, I think well over 1,000 just in the first couple of months, that we were wrestling in Virginia with an antiquated and overburdened state employment commission. And it just emphasized to me how important it was to have a program like this in a time of crisis. At the time, I was chairman of the Joint Economic Committee, bipartisan, bicameral, a great honor. And one of the things we did was talk to the smartest economists across the board, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, about what to do. And everyone started with the unemployment insurance system and the enhanced unemployment. It became really clear that this work was essential to the recovery. You've heard through many different witnesses that no other country in the world has recovered as quickly from the pandemic economically as have we, with still a ways to go. UI kept millions of Americans out of poverty, it saved countless jobs, and prevented home foreclosures, which obviously destroyed us in 2008, 2009, and has set the stage for this historically low unemployment, 54 years, steady GDP growth, and although there's still a ways to go, slowing inflation. Every Thursday at 5 o'clock, the governor of Virginia held a conference call with all the Democratic and Republican members of the Virginia delegation. So Morgan Griffith from Southwest Virginia to Tim Kaine. And we each got our 3 or 4 minutes with the governor, and virtually every conversation was about the broken UI system. And he would have to explain that in Richmond, the software was from 1980, the codes were nobody knew anymore, and the hardware was from 1980. And that they were doing the best they could but they had not, in January of 2020, they hadn't expected the incredible deluge that they had. So right away, we tried to go to work and say, look, let's, as we're handing money out, let's make sure that we're giving a lot of money to the states, Democratic and Republican-led states, to invest in the UI system so that if this ever happens again, we can be ready. So Mr. Turner, softball question. Would investing in highly trained state UI staff and better computer systems help prevent the fraud that we were talking about today and ensure that the benefits are paid on time?
No doubt about it. That's something that we've included in our recommendations in the past.
That's a very short answer. Thank you. That's about the shortest I've heard in my 4 years on Ways and Means. Mr. Horowitz, a similar question. And you mentioned that multiple states experienced issues verifying eligibility for benefits. That was a huge one for us. People would be ruled ineligible, and it would take them weeks or months to be able to prove their eligibility, and long delays because of that. One of the things we provided in the American Rescue Plan, which half of us like, was upgrading antiquated state UI computer systems. How important is that investment for the fraud that we're talking about?
It's critical. The states, as you indicated, the situation with Virginia, it's not alone. It's a problem across the country. States need to upgrade their IT systems. We have moved light years in just the last several years on the ability to do verification, identity verification. And so systems have to catch up.
Great. Well, I still have a minute left, which I will yield back. And I want to thank you for showing up and for helping us get our hands around this, balancing both the need to preserve every possible taxpayer dollar from fraud, but also making sure that we are supporting the American citizens who look to us. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you.